Welcome to another episode of CricChat powered by Umar Sheikh. Now, first, we do want to welcome our guest, Mr. Aqib Majeed. And I read this online last night, the one-eyed king of the blind, on a never-ending journey of self-discovery, student of Iqbal, entrepreneur, cricketer, snowboarder. One thing that just caught my eye was you're a student of Iqbal. When we talk about Shaheen, it's a symbol of power, knowledge, wisdom. There's so much more to it.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
Thank you, Samir. Thank you for inviting me here today. It caught me by surprise. The one-eyed king of the blind. I want to talk about that one for a minute. उर्दू में कहावत है अंधों में काना राजा. तो ये उसकी English translation है.
Right.
Essentially, so, I was a long time back, I felt pretty good about myself and where I was playing cricket or around my friends, and I was, boasting about it. Early 20s or whatnot. And somebody was like, Andho mein kana raja. And I'm like, and then I really thought about it, and I think it kind of stuck. And it made a little bit of sense about, there's different aspects of one little conversation there that, if there's one saying that goes, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, change the room.
Right.
So you don't, not saying or being prideful of that sense, but in a way you need to be able to challenge yourself to grow beyond. So that's what that little part relates to. Then coming towards Iqbal and Shaheen, that is a journey for myself where I have found purpose. Right. So Iqbal says that अपने मन में डूब कर पा जा सुरागे जिंदगी तू अगर मेरा नहीं बन सकता ना बन अपना तो बन. That loosely translation, one who finds himself finds God in a way. It's not a very religious aspect. It's more of a spiritual aspect about life itself. How does one find themselves? That is a question that I searched for an answer to for a long, long time. And if that is something that resonates with anyone, we can talk about it later, or you can reach out to me. But there's ways to go about that. Now, Iqbal's philosophy, he references or uses the metaphor of Shaheen numerous times throughout in his writings. What does that mean? Shaheen has 3 to 4 certain characteristics that, differentiates the bird from everyone else. One, the fastest on the planet. The dive is crazy. Has a keen eye, so can see things from a very high altitude, focus on that ball and watches the ball and goes and grabs it. Right. So the ability to watch something, focus on that one aspect. But then there's some behavioral things that are even more important. One, किसी का मारा हुआ शिकार नहीं खाता. So no copycats, no, doesn't follow anyone else.
No freebies.
No freebies. Is a lone soldier of sorts.
Pride.
Yeah. And the most important one, never really वो अपना आशियाना नहीं बनाता. Right? Doesn't really settle down and have a nest. So Iqbal also says that about परिंदों की दुनिया का दरवेश हूँ मैं क्योंकि शहीन बनाता नहीं कभी आशियाना. And that one aspect actually really helped me with this part of life where I had to move to a different place about 3 years back to Calgary. So, and everybody was like, hey man, you've lived your entire life in Toronto, you have all your friends here and everything, and how do you feel about this? I'm like, I feel great. And alhamdulillah, it's been a very, very great decision. The falsafa, the philosophy is so deep. It's never ending. So there is no limit to it. That's why it's a lifelong internship of sorts, right? So that
you're learning every day.
You're learning every day. So in another one, anhaddi te had desdini, de had desdi tanje mein huma. It's so that's what it is. I think we can sit here and dissect that throughout, but Iqbal there's there's a reason why um, Pakistan, India, Iran, Germany, these four major countries in the world, they all consider him a very established person, right? National poet of at least three of these, even if some of them like to admit it or not. Turkey is setting up research centers around his work and his philosophy of what the outcome of life is going to be, right? He is also called like the poet of the future. It's like, you will value me, not right now, 150, 200 years later. And that time is now coming to pass.
So now your journey as a student of Iqbal, is it more spiritual or more on the philosophy side?
They're both very interlinked, closely interlinked, right? So there's two aspects of life. One of his nazm, he says ilm or ishq. So ilm and ishq are two lenses that you can use to view the world, right? Iqbal balances them out very well. He does put one over the other, right? So for him, जब इश्क सिखाता है अदाब खुदगाही तो खुलते हैं गुलामों पे असरार शहनशाही.
Wow.
But ilm is very important as well, right? So he is a PhD holder, double PhD. He's written numerous books. So it's not just about his poetry; it's about his dissertations on multiple aspects as well.
Right.
So everybody has a different way of learning, right? So it's some of it's going to be more philosophical, and some of it's going to be more spiritual. It's also a little bit like East versus West, right? In
Right.
Eastern philosophy, spirituality really holds a very strong aspect. In the Western side, we look at it from a more academic perspective. Although that perspective is also shifting as time goes on, people start to understand what's happening. But it's really mind over matter, or heart versus the mind.
When I was looking into some of your profile, I found that you were playing for Dolphins in Toronto. Now, were you always a Shaheen? कि Dolphins से Shaheen आप बनने में थोड़ा time लगा?
Are you talking about the philosophical Shaheen or the cricketer Shaheen? The journey started probably 10 years back.
So this is before you moved?
Before I moved, yes, of course. I think that at some point in somebody's life, there's always an event that sort of serves as a catalyst that shakes you and tells you, okay, bhai, matlab, why are you here? Yeah, what's your purpose? Right? So what one might think their purpose was, maybe gets shattered, right? So then you sort of reassess your priorities and understand what's going on with your life. I am privileged, right? Because I've lived my life here. There is financial privilege as well. There was a time in 2016, where just during my master's, that I just got up and sort of left. Went about Europe, spent some time, did some internships, was in Ukraine for some time, and there's a war-torn country there, but, I made some friends around and everything. I think that was probably the time that was the most important for me, where this journey sort of started. And Iqbal was not even in my mind or anywhere close to me during that moment. I think actually what started off with how that happened was through Jalaluddin Rumi. So that's Murshid of Iqbal, if you want to talk about. In your early 20s, just playing cricket, enjoying life, having fun, not really thinking about what I'm going to do. Like I said, some privileges are there. So, I have a safety net. There's work to be done. No, it's okay. It's fine. Yeah. I'll be okay. But then once that gets destroyed, you move on to other things. So what sort of happened was that I came across Rumi and his teachings and his philosophy, but he is Farsi, right? So everything was in English translation, and that was sort of, things get lost in translation. So you can only reach so far.
Of course.
Right? So that's where it stayed.
सही. So books पढ़ने का हमेशा से शौक था आपको कि नहीं?
Started with Harry Potter. Yes, so you can say yes.
So there's a bit of connection. It's been coming or it's been brewing somewhere, but you didn't know where the exact path was, and now it's there.
Yeah,
You can say that, hey?
You can say that.
अच्छा मुझे ये बताएं, now shifting to cricket. आप move हुए Toronto to Calgary. You saw a cricket club named Shaheen. You just gravitated towards the name, or was it the people?
Definitely the name first. Second, the people as well, right? So things just get aligned so well that it was never really a question mark, right? So I think most of us know Zan from Kinetic Sports. So I set up my warehouse here and everything, and I had Shaukiya taur pe, I had my own brand that was selling, cricket equipment. And I used to sell it for most of the guys in Dolphins. So, the guys needed their bats and everything, and we have a good shipping thing going. So, like, I used to bring in equipment and they would buy it from me.
See.
And I named it Shaheen. So this was before I knew Shaheen Cricket Club existed. Or before I even knew I was going to come to Calgary at any point.
Wow.
So I set up Facebook ads for this equipment, and I was actually looking for retailers or wholesalers or whoever, because I don't actually sell to consumers. I sell to my friends that I know. So I think Zan messaged me, and on that ad that, hey, like, what are you selling, type of thing. And I had heard his name, that, here's a person who sells. So once Zan said, I'm like, hey, are you this person? He's like, yeah. And, he actually works near my office in Southeast. So we went out to grab lunch. He told me about it. And that's it.
That's how it started.
That's how it started.
Interesting. So जब आपने खेला, of course, you talked about Zen Bhai. What other people you found? Oh, you're like, you know what? मैं यहाँ पे gel हो रहा हूँ. When did that happen? Or you found it instantly?
So funny, like in that first conversation, I think I probably asked Zain, like, why did you name it Shaheen? Like मैं उससे थोड़ा सा ये फलसफा का आंसर समझ रहा था, and he didn't give me that answer at all. So, but he did refer to Amar Bhai. It's like, he's the person over there, and then, we sort of pulled in and whatnot. Okay. So, I came across this guy, and, he sort of gravitates towards Iqbal as well from a very ilmi perspective, but we had very good conversations around that. So that keeps my interest in over there. And then I just started playing cricket, Once you go around in the field with the guys, you get a good feeling. They were a relatively new club, right? This is 2.5, 3 years back now.
3 years, yeah.
So they were a relatively new club. They were looking for more players, and they give me a lot of respect. So it worked out well.
That's great. So अच्छा मुझे अभी ये बताएं कि culture, if you were to compare culture of Dolphins versus how the clubs are here in Calgary, not just Shaheen necessarily, but overall, is it just like, oh, my club, me kind of situation, or does it change depending on where you saw or what you saw?
Okay, so I've played for different clubs in Toronto. So I played maybe about 3 to 4 years with Dolphins. Right, I think I played in high school. All right, and then the friends from high school, we set up our own little club, and then half of them, once you reach mid-20s, late-20s, you get married, and you just drop off the face of the world. So that what happened. So at that moment, I think the biggest difference, and I can't say for the rest of the clubs here in Calgary, I've not had too much interaction with what their culture is like. But Shaheen is very well organized with the people that are in place, right? Zan, Talha, Amar, what these guys are doing. It's also, I think the most important thing is obviously education, what these guys are working in terms of professionally. So they're sort of organize it based on their skill set and understanding of how an organization is supposed to operate. So the conversations at the SAGM are very constructive, to the point, and getting along nicely. Dolphins was very different. Dolphins, those guys are hardcore cricketers, very good athletes, right? I'm really hoping to have a Dolphins versus Shaheen game soon.
Okay.
That'll be fun, but not very organized in the same manner, right? Where there's one guy who's just putting in all the effort and running the entire show, versus a committee and board members which are with proper bylaws and a methodology of everything. So one man army versus a proper organized committee. So this is the biggest difference that I see. It also might be a little bit of related to my own maturity as a cricketer and as a person itself, where I didn't see it that way before, and now I'm gravitating towards this. That makes sense too, but that's how I see the difference.
So आपका style कुछ और था और now it's evolving, or you would say is changing a little bit, and you're finding this more aligned with what you want to see ahead?
Yes, definitely. I think at that time it was more Toronto can be a little bit more individualistic, right? Where some of these guys are just like about, okay, I want to play, I want to make these runs, and it's about your own personal well-being yourself as a cricketer versus what the club and the team needs.
So what would you say to the teams who are watching or experiencing this problem, that it's me culture? What would you say to them so they can improvise or improve on some of those things?
I think it goes to the management or the board of the club itself.
It doesn't have to be big board. Decision makers.
Yeah, the decision makers, right? So it's a top-down thing, right? So it starts with yourself first, right? Yesterday I was clever, I was trying to change the world. Today I'm wise, I'm changing myself. So you start with yourself. If you are in that key leadership position, what are you thinking about? So, right? So it's about making those little sacrifices where, it's not about me, it's about the club or the team. So you have to put the right people in charge, starting with the captains, right? Who is it going to be? Who's going to take charge on the field? And are they going to, bowl themselves first and bat themselves up on top of the order? Or are they going to, bring everybody else along and take them forward?
Right.
And I think that was for me even as a very interesting and maze ka challenge tha in the last 2 years as well.
You lifted a cup last year, Division 1 cup.
Yeah.
Now Premier Division. ठीक है, उसके अपने challenges है. But let's step back for a second. What were the challenges like in last year's journey to the cup?
Yeah, it was a wonderful feeling. Shaheen's first championship, right? So we sort of made history there. We had a couple of new faces in the team, right? And everybody comes with new expectations, especially when you join a new club and you're an established cricketer. So I think managing those expectations along with managing everybody else's expectations of running a team, where I want to bowl, where I want to bat, what sort of impact I want to create, that was the biggest challenge. And I think I did fairly well. We won the cup and everybody stayed.
Right. That's a win-win for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, keeping the players together has always been a challenge, especially when players slightly gets competitive. या उसकी कोई थोड़ी game improve होती है, someone else just try to poach. Did you guys have that problem this year?
Poaching? No, I don't. I mean, if we did, Zan and those guys would know about it. That's not my concern in terms of managing the team or having the right people in, right? It's, I get given options of sorts, like, hey, this is what's on the table. Do you have preferences in terms of players?
Okay.
Right. So, and I sort of pick out from there and understand that way.
See.
If somebody wants, I think now we're at a point where, there is, Shaheen is a brand where it has good reputation there, right? And if somebody wants to leave or gets poached for whatever XYZ reason, I don't think we'll stop them from going.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any. But अच्छा, अब मुझे ये बताएं कि recruiting कैसे होती है आपके club में? Or you're not aware of that portion?
I think it's Suzanne's very proactive. We always joke about it, like इस बंदे के पास इतना time कैसे आता है? Like every time there's a Facebook post where this guy's like, यार मैं फलाना batsman हूँ या bowler हूँ, तो he's like, hey, join this club, right? I don't think there's too much effort behind recruitment. I think the challenge right now is, giving games and game time to all the players that we currently have.
So it's organic abhi gali sara.
Mostly, yes.
Mostly. Zanbai is very active because he's on his WhatsApp web
Yeah.
instead of his phone.
Yeah.
He's telling me, he's like, oh, I'm like, I like this how you reply so quickly, man.
Yeah, so am I, right? I think this is the privilege of sort of, being in that office, and this one
Right.
screen is just like WhatsApp web is just opening there.
I want you to wear your CDCL executive hat for a minute and tell me, we always hear this, and I was talking to Zanbai and he said, you maybe ask him this question, CDCL kuch nahi karti. Okay? Can we talk about the infrastructure? We saw the recent nets being, I saw that last night at the time of this recording. Beautiful, right? So nets are really well done after a long time. Now, there's other challenges as well in terms of infrastructure. हमारे पास grounds नहीं है, हमारे पास ये नहीं है, हमारे पास वो नहीं है.
Mm-hmm.
Population is growing, teams are growing. Where are we going ahead?
ये जो एक statement है ना, I think CDCL has a reputation problem. एक PR का थोड़ा सा budget approve कराना पड़ेगा for next one. कि CDCL कुछ नहीं करती.
Sweet.
There's a lot of work that goes on in the back end, and hours and hours of time and meetings and whatnot. So it's a bit of a thankless job as well.
जी.
So there needs to be a mind shift amongst the cricketers and the board. By board, I mean all the clubs, that what the executives and what they're doing and what they need and how can we help, right? So you need to have helping sort of an attitude rather than just questioning, right?
Mm.
So it's a classic HR problem, right? That I have with my brothers who manage my company as well, right? Like, you know what? My dad used to give an example कि अगर एक सफेद शलवार कमीज पहना हुआ है ना आपने और उसके ऊपर एक काला dot लगा हुआ है, so you will always only look at that black dot. You don't look at the rest of the
बिल्कुल.
pristine, clean cloth.
Human nature.
Human nature. So that's the challenge, right? So we just need to have. I'll ask everybody that, instead of just questioning or complaining, let's ask the question, how can we help? Right? Like, I need to get the East Shepherd carpets replaced. I need like 8 guys, right? Can we show up? Like, can we do this? What are the platforms that we do? And like, we have this practice group, indoor cricket practice group with like 70 odd members or so, right? We had to replace this carpet for Riley. And I sent a message in there like, guys, I need like 3 people. Nobody showed up, right? So again, all it needs is just physical manpower, man. We're athletes. Show up, right? Put your money where the mouth is, right? So that's one thing that I ask of the cricketing community here. Let's try to be proactive and help rather than complain. Now, where are we going? I can't say for what's been going on in the past. I can only, my reference point is last 2 years.
Fair enough.
Essentially last 1 year. There's a lot of challenges with the city, I think, in terms of the maintenance and the upkeep of the park. We're trying to get this Walden ground going every week. The games are getting rescheduled. We send in a reminder every day to this guy like, hey, can we get updates? And it's just not coming back out. What their challenges are on the back end of the city, I don't know yet.
Right.
It is a conversation that we haven't had yet. So it's a relationship that we will need to develop again from scratch, which I'm trying to do. Riley, for example, right? The parks admin and the parks people at Riley, because it's such a core downtown park, right? Their maintenance crew is always there. So they were very happy that somebody's coming in and taking care of this, right? And they supported us, with some equipment and everything. And they didn't ask us any questions and paperwork and documentations that go beyond, anything extra. So that was good. And I can foresee that Riley in the future will be very well maintained. Apart from the grass, we can't do much about it. But, the little tweaks that we need to do to the pitch, the clubhouse, we will definitely reopen within this season. Right. So we'll
That's been a big question.
Yeah. So And that will happen, right? Because now we have the relationships on the ground, right? With the people that are on the day to day, rather than with the bureaucrats that are sitting in the office.
What's happening with the security side of the clubhouse?
We're going to try a couple of things, right? I think summertime, the security isn't much of an issue. It's only during winters.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we'll just, we'll open it up for the summer and then barricade it and shut it down during the winter. So it has a very rustic, badi maze ki uski look hai. Was the first time I went inside and I was like, oh, this is so nice, right? It feels like a lodge, like a beautiful cabin. How can we utilize it, right? So I had a couple of ideas around that, and that is definitely, you'll see something interesting and exciting, I'd say, by end of June.
End of June, okay. Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I ran into somebody whose dad was playing years ago. He actually sent me some photos. I'll put some up there in this episode. Really nice photos from really 80s or 70s. It's really old photos.
Yeah.
And he sent me some of those, and the pictures are in front of the nets. They look as beautiful as what you guys just did. The nets actually look so good back then. And then also the clubhouse, and people were having fun. That fun aspect, because we believe Calgarians who've played at Riley Park is the home of cricket in Calgary. And when you go see the clubhouse, you feel that. And I'm so bummed that these kids who are growing up right now, they have no idea what Riley Park looks like or the clubhouse looks like. So when you go in there, it gives you that feel that, hey, you know what? You're at a nice spot. You see the pictures. Obviously, all of this is taken off right now. But if there is a way we can revive that, that is something our cricket really needs.
You know what, to me, it's a recurring trend, not just in Calgary, even in Toronto. So Maple Leaf Cricket Club, which most people know as King City, that place is, right, it's a shithole now. Like that clubhouse or the pavilion that they have is probably what Riley looks like now too. So when I started going, or when I started playing my cricket, like, in the late 2000s, early 2010s, like it was nowhere, right? So it's the same trend that I see. But now, and you're talking about this, the same thing, that the kids growing up, they've never seen this in a pristine condition. Last month, late April, we had a Victoria tour. So with Shaheen, and I saw 2 beautiful clubhouses, right, in Victoria, in the island of Victoria. And they were wonderful. And that gave me really inspiration that, man, Riley could be like this.
Yeah.
Or it should be like this. Working towards that for sure. I think it's just been a lack of motivation as well, in terms of what's been sort of going on with the league over the last, I think the focus has been on different aspects. Not saying it's right or wrong, right? But it's a team effort.
Of course.
Right? Jo mujhe lagta hai abhi, it's, where that team is sort of missing. From the executive side, from the board side, like, the attitude is not that we want to help. It's more about, let's just question everything.
Yeah, why is it not done?
Why is it not done?
Right. So the message to our board member is that let's get involved.
Let's get involved. Yes. Right. You've got construction guys that can figure this out. Can we have security people? Do you have suggestions on how this can be done? What sort of alarm system we can put on? So many things.
Mera ek suggestion, and I've kind of raised my voice over this a few years back, but it didn't really get any attention. It's up to you, or maybe you can give me a reason why it's not done. We get there's a email list, right? Like whenever there's something happening, board of directors, captains get an email. Is there a way like where more people can just have their names added so they get information as well? Because it's just captains or whoever, or maybe this is an old email address of so-and-so club. They're just not even getting that information. So if there is a way of having that distribution list, email list, increase, so that way maybe information will be more widespread.
100%. I think it's a good suggestion. I think we should have a newsletter going out, right? At least on a weekly or monthly basis as well, right? The monthly basis would be very nice that we can start to sort of look into these things. But like I said, the energy and the focus has been on legal matters for a long time, which are now shifted starting from this year onwards, right?
And that's what, sorry to cut you off there, but that's what most of our players are saying as well, that we're so focused on the legal battles that we're sometimes we're just forgetting the cricketing aspect.
Like I said, I only have the past 1 year for that reference point, and it does seem to be true from my understanding as well. And this is my conversation with the president as well, right? And he agrees in that. Like, I have spent such a long time fighting and draining my energy on the legal side of things, that now I feel like, now that the legal side of things is sort of out of our hands and gone to a bigger sort of a scale, that we can now focus on our cricket.
Right.
And, let's focus on what we can do at our grassroots level to make it better.
Absolutely. अच्छा, I wanted to ask you this. ये मेरे ज़हन में अभी आया कि देखें जैसे हमारी CGCL भी है, now there's other leagues popping up, right? There's IPL, there's WCL, and God knows what L is gonna show up a year down the road. What are some of the things league is thinking of doing to maybe incorporate with them or maybe work with them to move cricket forward? Any plans there?
Yeah, so that was one of the major. So one of my co-workers, right? He used to play cricket with me in Toronto. He moved here. He moved here before I did. Set up the market for us. He plays in WCL, right? And he played a couple games from some practice games with Shaheen, and the Shaheen guys are like, "Bhai, isko leke aao na, ye hamare saath kyun nahi khel raha?" And I'm like, he can't play because restrictions, right? So I raised this at the last the SAGM, like, hey, can we allow these guys to come and play? Like, let's be open about it, right? Because the best thing about there's pros and cons for this, right?
Bilkul.
Like in Toronto, I was registered a lot, like in 4 leagues, right? And then we have a team in every place, and wherever my schedule, because it was more casual, I wasn't committed to one team. Wherever your schedule allows, you just go and play there. And that gives you opportunity to play a lot more cricket, right? Because you're not tied up. So I wanted the same thing to happen here. Like, hey, as cricketers, if I have more avenues to play and I have the time to play and the energy to play, why not? Let me play wherever I want. And I think that was well received by the board at the CDCL, and then we removed that restriction from our side. Turns out they put the restriction from their side. So now, we can extend an olive branch, but if the same feeling doesn't get reciprocated, we can't do much about it. I can sense why they would do that. There's pressure from the top down to, sort of alienate CDCL.
Right.
But let's see how long that pressure lasts.
Matter of time, you think?
I think it's a matter of time. It's coming close, right? So that's coming close.
With that, we just want to thank you for watching CricChat, powered by Umar Sheikh. And thank you, Aqib Bhai, for sharing your thoughts. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I hope to have a follow-up session very soon.
No, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much.